how does simple interest work? Okay, I'll give you the formula and then we'll unpack it together. Okay, it looks like this. Draw it nice and, write it nice and big so that we can like put arrows on it and label what's going on. Okay, so this is about simple interest. What are the pieces here? Well, I stands for interest, right? So this formula, once we put all of the bits and pieces in on the right-hand side, it's going to calculate how much is that, what Ali was saying, how much is that excess amount, the extra bit, quite apart from how much your actual thing costs. Okay. P? Anyone know? Principle. Stands for principle, that's right. Not principle as in like, got good principles, you know, courageous and brave and all that kind of thing. In principal, just like Mr. Johnson, okay? Because it also refers to a sum of money, okay? A significant sum of money. All right, now, revenue would be a good word for, it made sense in the context, but here, what it means is rate, okay? Or interest rate, really. Now, it's quite important that we remember as well, you'll see why later, that this is a decimal. We tend to say rates as a percentage. We were just talking about 5%, 20%, and so on, okay? But when you're using it in the context of this formula, I mean, we're going to be calculating this with calculators, right? So we want to input it as a decimal, and I'll remind you how to convert them later. You know how we were doing that last week. Last one, M. Anyone know what it stands for? Remember, I'm trying to work out how much interest I'm going to have to pay on something money I borrowed. I need to know how much I borrowed, how much they're going to charge me as the interest rate. There's one more thing I need to know. Remember my $5, right? My $5. The longer the bank has it, the more I'm going to expect them to pay me, right? So based on an amount of time, bless you, I'm going to expect more, yeah? So that's what this is about. It stands for number of, now it does tend to be years. It tends to be years. But it's not always. It can be other time periods like weeks or months, those kinds of things. Sorry, say that again? That's exactly right. That's exactly right. The reason why number of years is the most common, you can even hear it when people give you interest rates. I'll give you an example, right? An interest rate, they don't just say 5%, they say 5% and then they put two letters after it. What does that stand for? P and A. 5% per annum, which means per year. Annum as in annual, right? So it happens per year. So that's why you know that the most frequent rate is on a number of years, and the questions you'll get will mostly be like that. Okay, if it's different, the question will let you know. Okay, so let's do an example. Okay, let's calculate the simple interest. I'm just going to abbreviate because I'm just trying to write it quickly for you. Calculate the simple interest charged on $5,000. Okay, let's have a go. Now, you can see that all the pieces are here, and we want to work out where to fit them into here, okay, into this formula. So I always start by writing down, well, okay, I'm just going to write down the formula. That doesn't get me any marks or anything like that, but it helps me to know where I'm going to slot all the information into, okay? So, what are the bits that are important? P, that's the principal, that's how much you're borrowing, okay? Or how much you're lending, I suppose. You can be on either side. That's going to be this money, this dollar figure here, okay? So that's $5,000. There's P, okay? Charge, sorry, a bit messy. Okay, where's our rate? Where's our rate? It's 7%. Now remember we said it's as a decimal, right? So I'm actually going to write that as 0.07. Good. So there's my rate, and I'll convert it into a decimal there. Okay. Lastly, the number of years, they even tell you, right? That's easy to see because the time unit, years, months, days, whatever, it'll always be there. Okay. So now, let's pop them in. Interest equals 5,000 times 0.07, like you told me, times 3 years. There you go. Okay.
1,050.
1,000. Oops, sorry. And 50. Now, does that seem like a lot of money? Does it seem like a lot of money? It's a fair amount, yeah.
What you buy.
That's right. It depends on, you know, how long are we willing to hold on to that money for? How long are they willing to loan it for? It's more than a fifth of what your actual, like, this is the thing that you've bought, and this is the extra that they're going to charge you. This is the cost of that money,
So
holding on to it for 3 years.
6,050.
Yeah, so the first question was calculate the simple interest. The second question might be, so maybe we call this part A. Part B might say, okay, work out how much has to be repaid in total. Okay, so if I could write something for that, the total, that would be the actual amount that we borrowed, which is P, plus the interest we just calculated, yeah? That's 5,000 plus our 1,050 we just worked out. Okay, there you go. And this is often sort of the two-step nature of the question. Read very carefully whether they want you to work out the total. If you get it in like an exam paper, you underline that word, or do they want you to calculate just the interest, right? So that you make sure you calculate the right number. And there you go. Okay. Oh, one last thing. Remember how we called this PRN, right? You'll see this all the time. And N means number of years. There's an alternative for that. The textbook uses the alternative. Sometimes it uses T instead of N. What do you think the T might stand for? Time, that's right. So they're just subbing in. It'll be the same number, really, but they're just giving it a different label. That's all. So don't get too confused if you see a T instead of an N there at the end. It's the same formula, just wearing slightly different clothes.